you very much for your time this morning. So do you think the government was or is within its rights to push back hard on Dubbo?
Well, I think Dubbo should be left to run Dubbo, and that's one of the issues that we've seen over the years, that state government likes to stick its nose in places that maybe it's not required, and a local government has the responsibility of running a government in the way that it sees fit. So I think they have stuck their nose in. And the other thing that really concerns me is that there's a lot of scaremongering, and people get this negative impression of the bush, of regional areas. And we, as in Dubbo, but other regional communities, have spent a lot of money over the years advertising our beautiful regional areas. And then when people in Sydney contemplate coming out to a regional area, the first thing they think of is this terrible, dire situation that they keep hearing about in the press, and so the negative perception continues out there. And I think the whole scaremongering, we're not about to run out of water. Water is low. Regional areas and farms are doing it very tough, but we're not about to turn our taps on tomorrow and have no water come out. We've got high security licences, and there's still, in our dam, there's still 4%, which doesn't sound like a lot, but 4% is still 52 gigalitres. Now, that's a lot of water still. When you consider that Sydney Harbour is only 500 gigalitres, it's 1/10 of Sydney Harbour. So we've still got a long way to go before we turn the tap on and nothing comes out.
Well, I mean, yeah, you can say that, but the drought is biting hard, and it is only going to continue biting hard. And the state government has said that Dubbo is really not playing by the rules at the moment. It has said that people are still being allowed to water their lawns and their gardens. They're still being allowed to fill their pools. They're still being allowed to hose their cars. Do you think that's acceptable?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of a situation is really about...
And you think that's acceptable to be doing that while, you've got those critical water shortages at the moment?
Well, the issue here is that it's not going to make much difference to farmers. If we suddenly stop using water in Dubbo City, then it's not going to suddenly give farmers extra water. The amount of water that Dubbo uses is minuscule compared to the amount that the farming community would use. So it's really about showing the support for the regional community. So I'd support the level 1 water restrictions that we've been on, but going to extreme of level 4, and one of the frustrating parts is there's no standard for level 4. Council's had to come up with its own level 4 restrictions, which are different to every other level 4 restriction. So there's no standard across the state. But again, we're talking about Dubbo's community uses anywhere from, say, 5 to maybe a maximum of 10 gigs in a year. So having water restrictions, cutting back, we might save half a gig of water. Now, half a gig of water spread out amongst the whole irrigation community in the Macquarie Valley. The licences in the Macquarie Valley are somewhere in the vicinity of 650 gigalitres. So half a gigalitre is not going to make much of a difference. But what it does do is sends that negative perception of Dubbo out. Someone drives into Dubbo or flies into Dubbo and they see dead lawns and dead gardens, and straight away they've got a negative perception of a regional area, and that's where I think it could be more damaging in the long term.
I agree with you in the point that regional towns, especially in this drought, need to be supported. I think everybody would agree with you in that sense. But the government also says that it has given you $30 million to create bores or to build bores, which haven't been done. How much progress has been made in terms of that investment?
Yeah, I think Council's been very poor in the way it's approached that. And the idea is they've suggested $30 million is there for new bore fields, but the reality is you can drill as many holes as you like into bore fields, but you're still taking it all from the same aquifer. So the reality is that $30 million should be being used to buy up some additional bore licences, and that's something where Council really hasn't been very proactive, and I think they need to go out there and be proactive. At the moment, we've got licences roughly about 8 gigalitres to take out of the river and about 4 gigalitres to take it out of the bores. And so we use about a 70-30 mix at the moment from Council. So we've got 12 gigalitres of licences for water at the moment. So again, you can see we're nowhere even near hitting our licences, but those bores, taking more out of the bores would make sense with less flows from the river.
Matt, just one more question, and just keep your answer brief if you can, because we're running out of time. But the federal government is going to announce in the coming weeks that it is moving towards building dams, several dams right across New South Wales. Is it too late for that?
I don't think building dams is the overall solution. I mean, we're talking here about residential water. I mean, having the state government allow us to use grey water in an easier method, having water-saving methods would make more of a difference there. And I think we just need some big picture, long-term drought solutions rather than put some band-aids on things. At the moment, band-aids are just not working, and we've got a changing climate, and we've got governments who aren't admitting that we've got a changing climate. That's the first part. We've got to admit that what we're having now is probably more like the norm than being unusual.
Matt Dickerson, former Dubbo Mayor, appreciate your time this morning.
Thanks, Pete.
Coming up, presidential support. Donald Trump joins the Prime Minister calling for China to be reined in on trade, plus chaos, confusion and calls for Boris Johnson to resign after a damning UK Supreme Court ruling.